Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today a new style, new session. It's a long time ago since my last video. Reason for that, I have many conferences, but it's okay. So today a new really cool topic, a new really cool public feature, public preview feature. Before we start, I'd like to give you a short introduction about me. My name is Lagler-Gruener. I'm multi-cloud architect in one of the biggest consulting companies in Austria. I'm working since the beginning of the public cloud or since the beginning of Microsoft Azure Cloud with cloud technologies, with cloud architecture. I'm really focused into Microsoft Azure, but you also see I have some certification in other hyperscaler as well. But my main focus is Microsoft Azure. You can find me on Xing, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. I also have my private blog called cloudblogger.at. For sure, my YouTube channel, and at the end, you'll also find some scripts, some solutions of my experience on my GitHub repository. But enough from me. So let's go ahead and talk about the new cool feature named Azure Virtual Network Manager. Azure Virtual Network Manager is a new feature, a new preview feature, and today we will go a little bit deeper into this section. This video is from video type Nugget, which means it will take approx 30 up to 40 minutes. It's deep dives, it's not hardcore deep dive, it's a level 300, so you have to have a knowledge about Microsoft Azure networking to understand the video. Okay, what are the topics from today? First of all, I want to give you an overview. What is the Azure VNet Manager? Why should I use it? Then we'll go ahead and talk about the configuration types that you have in Azure Virtual Network Manager. And at the end, I will present you all functionalities with scenarios on Azure Virtual Network Manager. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about what is an Azure VNet Manager. It's a managed service, so it's really important to understand. You don't have to think about scalability, high availability. It's everything in place from Microsoft, and you can configure with this manager your networks, you can deploy scenarios, and you can also manage your virtual networks over different subscription, over different regions. And this is one service which I've searched in the past. It's really cool to implement. It's really easy to implement, and it's really a perfect feature. But important, the service is at the moment in public preview, so you can use it, but you don't get an SLA for this service. Okay, what are the key benefits? The key benefits is a central management from the connectivity perspective. I know you can do this also with Virtual WAN, but in some situations you don't need Virtual WAN. You can use it with VNet peerings, and you can also define your transitive communication over VNet peerings. And the service which I've looking for in the past is exactly the Virtual Network Manager to achieve this. You have a high availability, high scalable services for sure, because it's a managed service from Microsoft. You have for sure, this is not a point from the network manager itself, so it's a point from the VNet peering. You have a low latency when you use VNet peering instead of VPN connections. And this is one really cool topic, you can define rollout times, or you can define, okay, now I want to change my network settings and roll out the configuration over all your network services. This is really cool. You can do this. I will show this also in my live demo. Okay, this is what is the Virtual Network Manager? What are the key benefits of this service? So let's go ahead and talk about the configuration types. We have two configuration types in place. The first one is the connectivity. With this, you can define a mesh or a hub and spoke technology for your group. A group represents your networks. So you can define a group based on static members or based on dynamic members. We will also see this in the live demo. And then security admin rules. So let's think about network security groups in the past. So when you have multiple virtual networks in different regions with different subnets, you have the problem, you have many network security groups and you don't have a central pane where you can see all your rules. Azure Virtual Network Manager fulfill exactly this problem. You can define your networking rules and you have a central pane where you will see everything. Okay, so from the connectivity perspective, you have two options. You have the option mesh, a full mesh connectivity. You will see this on the first screen. So you have different virtual networks and each virtual network is connected to each other. The second option what you have is a hub and spoke technology. Hub and spoke is one of the recommended way to connect from on-premise to the cloud and to different regions. So you can see here we have a production network, we have many test networks, and all these networks are connected to a hub virtual network, and this virtual network is maybe connected to on-premise to a branch office at headquarters. In this configuration perspective, you also have the possibility to connect each virtual networks directly also. So you have a hub and spoke technology, but from the productive virtual network 1 to the productive virtual network 2, you don't go over the hub network. You can also define a direct connection if you want. Okay, these are the two options what you have. You can configure this and roll out to a group. We will see this in the demo. Okay, the second option what you have are the type security. So here, the security perspective doesn't mean you have to you change network security rules. No, you have a separate option named admin rules, and the benefit here is network security rules starting at priority 100 up to 4069, and Azure security admin rules are starting at priority 0 up to 100, for example. So admin security rules always are from the priority level before network security rules. So this doesn't mean each rule overrides the network security rules. Okay, what does this mean? So you can see we have three options. We have the allow option, the allow always option, and the deny option. The deny option block everything before network security rules. This is okay. The allow option define, okay, for example, port 3389 is allowed, but it will also go ahead and say, okay, what configuration is network security rules? So when you define, and we will see this in the live demo, when we define, for example, we allow port 3389 and only allow this and have also a network security group binded to the virtual network interface or to the subnet, you cannot connect because the last rule from the network security group is deny everything. What you have to do is you have to define a network a security admin rule with always allow. This means, okay, you have defined in this rule, for example, RDB is allowed, and then it's allowed. It doesn't go ahead to the network security group. This is really important. This is really important to know. And the other thing what you have to think about is the rollout can take up to 15 minutes. Can take up to 15 minutes. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go to the live demo. What we will do is, first of all, I will give you an overview of the network manager. Then we go ahead and define a network group, define configurations from the networking perspective and from the security perspective. We also deploy and update the configuration, and then we will test everything if everything is working fine. Okay, that's it. Let's go ahead and switch to my live demo. So here we are. We are now in my live demo environment. You can see I've defined one resource group with different resources inside this group. You can see I have my virtual network. So I have two virtual networks in East-US. I have my two VMs, and I also define two network security groups which are bound to the subnet from each network with the default rule settings. So the 56,000 rules and the deny rule. Okay, from the client perspective, from the server perspective, I've defined two servers with a public IP address, and you can see that the servers are bound to the virtual network. And at the moment, it's not possible to connect to the server because the ports are not open. The reason for that is it's blocked by the default network security group, by the last rule, 56,000 whatever. This is the blocking rule. Okay, so in the past, we are going ahead and think about the network security groups, go to the network security group, add an inbound security rule and say, hey, I want to allow the RDP port from my public IP address. In this case, I switch to the virtual network manager as a new service, and the virtual network manager have this overview. So you can see you have to define first your virtual networks groups, then you can define your configuration and deploy the configuration. Okay, let's start with the basics. First of all, during the deployment, you have to think about, okay, what features, what do you want to implement or do you want to enable? In this case, I've enabled both configuration and security administration feature types. And then you can go ahead and define your networking groups. On the left side, you will see also activity logs, access control EAM. You have some properties here. You can log the configuration or you can log the the network manager for sure. And here we are, here we have our network groups. So now we are defining network groups and you have two options to define this. So let's go ahead and click on create. You can see we have to define a name. In this case is a prod network group. You can define a description, prod network group, click on add. The group will be now added. You click on refresh and we will see the network group with no virtual network members. Okay, so let's go to the group, insert the group, and you will see you have two options. You have the option add a static member or add a dynamic member defined on different categories. So go ahead, click on define, and in my case I want to show you the dynamic membership, but I will add the networks over the static membership. So click on add. In this case you have different parameters. In my case I want to add a name, contains VNet mesh, and you can click on save, but you want to see the resources which are discovering. You can click here on preview resources and you will see all resources which are available in my subscription. Okay, why this subscription is now added or now discovered over the resource, the virtual network manager. When we go back, you are able to define the scope. Here we are. Here we have the scope, and you can change the scope if you want from one subscription up to a management group level if you want. And then each subscriptions beyond the management group will be discovered for example, virtual network mesh naming convention. Okay, so let's go ahead and add two members manually in the static way. So here we have the static way. Now discovering we have more than two virtual networks in my environment. So this one, I will select the virtual network mesh 01 and 02 and click on add. Perfect. The two networks are now added in a static membership format. Okay, great. Now we go ahead and configure networking types. First of all, we want to configure security admin configuration. My VMs are not accessible over the internet, over the port 3389, so over RDP. I define here my prod default rules, click on next, and define a collection rule. In this case, I'm creating a new collection rule named prod default allow, and select the target group, in this case my prod network group. So assign this collection rule to my virtual networks. If I have more network groups, I can assign the collection rule to different network groups. Okay, now I have a collection rule, and now I can add rules inside the collection rule. In this case, allow RDP priority, in this case 1, select an action, and here we have the three options. Allow means, okay, it's allowed inside the collection rule, inside the admin rule, but it will go to the network security group and check is there an override for this rule. The next one is the deny, is clear. And the third one is allow, always allow. It doesn't check the network security group, it always allow the access over RDP. So let's test this with allow. Select the directions and inbound connection, select the protocol, in this case is TCP. I know RDP is using TCP and UDP, but in this case we can use TCP. Source, in this case I'm using a IP address, and I will add my public IP address. Here we are. The source port is any, the destination is service tag, and here I will define virtual networks. So I want to assign, I want to allow RDP connection to all virtual networks. It's not the recommended way. The better way is you define your subnets, but in this case it's okay for me. 3389, and click on add. So now you have your allow rule defined. Click on add to define the configuration and review and create. Okay, perfect. It will take a few seconds. And when we click on refresh, you will be able to see, okay, perfect. I have now my security admin rule configuration type. Now I want to deploy the configuration. You have two ways to do this. First of all, you can select the rule and click on deploy. The other way is you go to the deployments and click on deploy configuration and select everything. In my case, I will use this way. Select the rule, click on deploy. And here, one important part, it's the configuration itself is selected, and then you have to define, okay, in which region do you want to deploy the configuration. In my case, I have everything configured in EastUS 2. So the reason for that is I'm using EastUS 2 only. You can also select EastUS or West Europe, what you want, but there's no networks, there are no virtual networks available which are in my collection rule, my networking rule. So in this case, I'm using EastUS 2 because it's everything configured there. Click on deploy, and the process will now begin. You will see here in a few seconds. It's in progress. It will take a few minutes, and when it's done, you can see the deployment status is successful. So here we are. The configuration deployment was succeeded. We can go to the deployment configuration and see what happens. In this case, we are deployed one rule. You can see here, this is the allow RDP rule. from the source to the virtual network over 3389. It's allow only. And you can see here what are the target groups, in this case the broad networking group. Okay, so the configuration is now in place, but keep in mind you're not able to connect. Why? And we go back to the configuration here and go to the VM 01, for example, click on RDP Connect, click on download the file, click on connect. It's not possible. Why? Because you're using only the allow connection, and you have to use allow always. Once more, keep in mind when you're using allow, it will check the security admin rules and also check the network security group rules. And you can see everything, and this is new, this is really new. When you go to the networking section, you can see here all your network security groups, and in addition, you will see here, normally, come on. Click on refresh. You should see here on the bottom the admin security rules. So here we are. On the top, you can see the network security rules, and the last rule here is 56,500 and it's deny. And here you can see the priority is 0, so the admin security rules always using before the network security groups, because the network security groups are starting at priority 100. And you can see here the configuration with allow. But it's not possible because we only have an allow. So let's go back to the network manager, change the configuration, go to configuration, select the configuration, select the rules, and edit the rule. In this case, I want to change it from allow to allow always. Click on save. Now there's nothing changed on the configuration because you have to redeploy, or you have to update the configuration. This is the reason why I go to the deployment, select the deployment, in this case, click on deploy configuration, select the region, in this case East US 2, click on next and deploy. You can see here there will be an update deployed. It's in progress and now it's succeeded. So let's go back to the VM. It will take a few seconds, maybe, and you will see the new configuration with always allow. It's allow, so a few seconds. Okay, it's maybe a visualization issue, but let's go back to the overview, click on RDB, and let's try it once more. Click on download the file, click on connect. Here we are. We're now able to connect to the VM. Perfect. We are now connected. And let's test this on the second VM as well. Let's go to the configuration. Let's have a look to the settings. Quiz also allow. Click on connect, RDP, download the file, click on connect. It's also working as well, fine. Okay, so what we will do now is we will check, are the firewalls, the local firewalls, disabled on both machines. So let's go to the VM. Let's select the firewall configuration it's enabled. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the wrong one. Public network, in this case, it's enabled. Okay, let's go ahead and disable on the private network as well. And let's go to the second VM. Go to the network. Okay, it's the wrong one. So here we are. Troubleshoot of networking. Firewall is not active. Okay, why we do this? It's really simple because we want to connect over ICMP with a ping to the destination VM. So in this case, I want to demonstrate something. So let's go to the second VM, say, hey, what's my IP address here? 10.1.0.5. It's not working. The reason for that is because it's two different virtual networks. And what we will do now is we will add a second configuration to our network manager. So go to the configuration, define a new configuration, a connectivity configuration. Say, hey, this is my prod VNet mesh. It's only a 2 VNet configuration. Yeah, it's okay. So in this case, I will select the mesh enablement. I will leave the mesh connectivity, enable mesh connectivity across regions is okay for me. So I click on add, select the group, click on next, click on create. And now we have a new one, in this case a mesh configuration. You can go to the network groups, and here you can see it's a dynamic membership null, it's only a static membership. So in this case I want to add the new configuration, deploy it in East US 2. Click on next, click on deploy, deployments. Okay, something get wrong. But I think it's only a wrong configuration. So in this case, status is succeeded. So let's go back to the VM. And here we are. We are now connected from one to another virtual network. We can ping the other server. Where you can find the configuration or where you can see the configuration, let's go back to the virtual network itself. And on the left side, you will see Network Manager, the Network Manager section. And here you can see the connectivity configuration. In this case is a mesh configuration available. And you also have here the system admin configuration section, which allows us to use port RDB. And here you can see always allow. Okay, that's it. That's from my session. That's from my new preview feature session. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked the new functionality. Keep in mind it's in preview at the moment. I hope it will GA in a few months, hopefully. And if you have some questions, write me on Twitter, Xing, Facebook. And if not, see you soon.